Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad SYAZWAN bin Muhammad AZEHAR and I am from DLM 4C. Today, I with my friend which is Arif, EMIR and RAUDAH will present about our mini project of business law, which is about medium useful and useless. Okay, there have two existence of contract that we will present in this presentation. The two existence of contract is consideration and intention to create legal relation. Between medium useful and useless, this consideration and intention to create legal relation will be the answer that what can they do in this contract.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I will talk about scenario. The scenario begins with Useless was a sales advisor at Best Autos Neighborhood, a well-known car dealer in JB. He worked there for 2 years. One day, his mother, Madam Useful, contacts Useless to ask him to return to Ipoh and further his study in accountancy at KPM Ipoh. Madam Useful offered to provide him 1,000 ringgit as a monthly expenses and a single-story terrace house if he would agree to return and further his study. Taking this as a great opportunity, Useless agreed to the offer. After 6 months in return, there were misunderstandings between Useless and Madam Useful. His mother stopped giving him the expenses and asked him to leave the house Useless living in. Useless feels so frustrated. He would like to take legal action against his mother for the monthly expenses as well as the vacant possession of the house.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Abdullah Arif bin SHAMSUDIN. Okay, based on the scenario, for the first 6 months, Madam Useful give her son RM1000 and a single story terrace for him. Okay, after 6 months they have conflict and Madam Useful stop giving him RM1000 and ask him for leave the house. Okay, so Useless so frustrated and he won't take a legal action against his mother. So the issue from the scenario is, the issue in this case is whether Useless can take legal action against Madam Useful for breach of contract. So these issues will cover two relevant sections that our group present, which is consideration and intention to take a legal relation. So let's go to the next point, which is law. Okay, let's go.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is BINTI AZMAN and now I will explain about law of both relevant elements in the situation, which are consideration and intention to create legal action. Based on Malaysian law of contract, in order to create a valid contract, the contract must fulfill all the elements of valid contract, which are offer, acceptance, consideration, certainty, and consent. If the contract has all the elements, we will know whether the contract has legal relation or not.
The first relevant section that our group explain is consideration. Consideration is the price of which one party pays to buy the promise or act of the other. So the general rules for consideration is agreement made without consideration is void. So these rules and these general rules are rules under Section 26 Contract Act 1950. So based on the scenario, the promisor in the scenario is Madam Useful. Madam Useful, which is the person who give offer and the promisee in the scenario is useless, which is the person who receive or accept the offer from promisor. So let's go to the next point.
In the law of consideration, the relevant section for this situation is Section 26 Contract Act 1940 that explain agreement without consideration will be void, so that if one that agreement valid, they must have consideration in contract. The classification of consideration in this contract is executory consideration. The executory consideration is exchange of promise to perform the act in the future.
Now, I will talk about illustration. Rosna offered to Najab 1000 ringgit as his monthly expense and a single-story terrace house if Najab accept the offer, which is further his study at KPM Ipoh. So, Najab accept the offer. After 6 months, Rosna stopped giving him 1000 ringgit and Rosna asked him to leave the house because they have conflict between them. So, Najab want to take legal action against Rosna. Najab cannot take legal action against Rosna for breach of contract because the contract is valid at the first place. Were the material fact of the contract, which is 1000 ringgit as monthly expenses and a single-story terrace house, is the consideration by Madam Rosna. Consideration for Najab is further his study.
Okay, now we will go to the application of the law. Okay, based on the above law, useless cannot take legal action against Madam Useful because the contract entered by both parties is valid. Why I say it is valid? Because as we have been mentioned earlier, there is consideration in the contract, which is 1000 ringgit as monthly expenses and a single story terrace is the consideration by Madam Useful, and the consideration for useless is mentioned is further his study. Okay, the important element of the contract, which is consideration from both parties, is mentioned in the agreement. If the consideration is not mentioned in the agreement, the contract will be void and useless can take legal action against Madam Useful. Okay, so the conclusion is useless can take legal action against Madam Useful because the contract entered by both parties is valid at the first place.
Okay, the second relevant section that our group discuss and want present is intention to create a legal relation. So this means the parties to the agreement are ready to face any implication if they fail to perform the terms under the contract. So for simplify, both party have a agreement. So if someone fail to perform the act or promise, they will face any implication like there's like someone who can take a legal action or can sue the person who failed to perform the promise. So let's go to the next point, which is law. So let's go.
Okay, now let's move to the law for this situation. The relevant section for this situation is in Contract Act 1915. Contract Act 1915 is silent on the intention to create legal relation because there is no section for this element of this contract. Alright, regarding to this situation, we have to refer the English law. Okay, we have to refer to English law, Then the intention to create legal relation for this situation is under family agreement. Okay, if the contract is under family agreement, failure to fulfill the promise will not be subjected to legal action. So there is no legal relation to enable the other party to take legal action if there is breach of contract by other party.
Okay, they have an illustration which is Rosna offer to Najat RM1000 for monthly expenses and a single story house. Najat will get the term of the offer if Najat further his study at KPM Ipoh. So Najat accept the offer after 6 months. Rosna stopped giving RM1000 and asked Najat to leave the house because they have misunderstanding and conflict. So Najat want to take legal action against Rosna. Najat cannot take legal action against Rosna for breach the contract because the intention of the agreement is under family agreement, which is the relationship Najat and Rosna is mother and son.
Okay, I will proceed with application. Based on the above law, useless cannot take legal action against Madam Useful because the contract entered by both parties is valid. The contract become valid because the intention of contract is under family agreement. The important element of the family agreement is have a relationship between both parties. If the intention of the contract is under family agreement, failure to fulfill the promise will not be subjected to legal action. So, useless also cannot take legal action against Madam Useful, even the contract is void. Lastly, I will jump into conclusion. In conclusion, useless cannot take legal action against Madam Useful because they're in the family agreement. Thank you.